Warning: it is important that prior to performing this or any other safety or service procedure on any Heil product, that the person performing the work has both read and firmly understands the parts and service manual as well as the product's operator's manual, including the detailed safety instructions that accompanied this vehicle. If there is anything that is unclear or that you don't understand, do not attempt to operate the vehicle or perform any of the service or maintenance tasks called out in this video. Quarantine the area, walk away from the vehicle, and contact your supervisor immediately for clarification. It is also important to ensure you are wearing the appropriate personal protective equipment, hereafter referred to as PPE, prior to beginning this or any other service or maintenance procedure. Hey, I'm Travis Wallen, the service guru here at Heil Environmental in beautiful Fort Payne, Alabama. Thanks for joining me at the Service Shack. Today we're going to talk about preventative maintenance that you can make to ensure that your Heil Rapid Rail lift arm is route ready every day. The Rapid Rail features a heavy lifting capacity of up to 1,600 pounds and an 8-second cycle time. The strong arm can handle 30 to 400 gallon waste containers and has virtually zero kickout, allowing for operation in tight spaces. But that level of productivity is dependent upon daily, weekly, and monthly preventative maintenance. Without your arm functioning correctly, the productivity of your unit will be impacted. Scheduled periodic maintenance will ensure that your Rapid Rail performs like the day it was first entered into service. Normal maintenance intervals are based on an 8-hour day and average operating conditions. Severe use or adverse conditions will make it necessary to do this maintenance more frequently. So let's get started on your Heil Rapid Rail lift arm preventative maintenance. The following is a daily checklist that is crucial to maintaining the life of your Rapid Rail lift arm. While performing your pre-trip inspection, be sure to look for hydraulic leaks, check the hydraulic oil level, report any worn or failed components, and also check the arm operations to ensure it's performing correctly. It's also crucial to grease all lift grease zerks twice per week or every 20 hours. If you're not sure of the grease zerk locations, reference the chart in your service manual or the decal on the side of your unit body. The following is a checklist that you should perform every week or 40 hours. Check the pin retaining bolts to ensure they are in place and not broken. This may indicate bearing or pin damage. If you find one that's worn or broken, replace the bearing, pin, and retaining bolt. Check hydraulic plumbing. Check hoses, tubes, and fittings for damage, wear, or leaks. Replace as necessary. Important: do not replace hoses with different sizes. This will cause inconsistent hydraulic reaction. Check mounts. Make sure the chassis rail is undamaged. Make sure chassis bolts are present and tight. Check brackets for cracks. Make sure lift bolts are present and secure. Check lift mount base bolts. Visually inspect the mounting bolts for security and movement. Check the nuts and bolts to make sure the weld is secure. Check for lift stress or weld cracks. Inspect the Rapid Rail lift arm for any structural cracks or cracks in the areas of welds. Cracks must be ground out and repaired. If cracking continues, replace the affected parts. Check Rapid Rail grabber assembly and belt. Check for wear, cuts, or damage. Replace if any of these conditions are present. If you notice loose play in your grabbers, you may want to check the torque on the grabber gear pin retaining nuts. To do this, you will remove the cotter pins in the slotted nut. To do this, you will need some pliers and a slotted screwdriver. To check the torque on the slotted nuts, you will need a torque wrench set to 100 foot-pounds and an 1.5 inch socket. You may need to turn the slotted nut slightly more to line up the hole to replace the cotter pin. Once you've got the cotter pin in place, take the pliers and bend the ends of the cotter pin back over the top of the slotted nut. The following is a checklist that you should perform every month or 200 hours of operation. Check cable carrier chain. Inspect the cable carrier chain for free movement and ensure there is no binding. Check arm cushion bumper. Inspect the arm cushion bumper and all retaining hardware. Check the latch mechanism. Inspect the latch mechanism for proper actuation. Check the carriage cam followers. Inspect the carriage cam followers for excessive wear or damage and the retaining nuts for tightness. Grabber open proximity switch. To make grabber open proximity switch adjustments, you will need a 15/16 wrench. Adjust the proximity switch to deactivate if the grabbers are extended outside the width of the vehicle. The grabber open prox should be adjusted so it is activated when the grabbers are fully open. You should check and adjust the pressures on your Rapid Rail lift valve twice per year or 1,000 hours. To check and adjust pressure settings, you will first need to put the lift arm in manual mode. To do this, simply ensure that the coordinator lift rocker switch is in the off position. On Durapack Rapid Rails, you will also need to put your unit into service mode by using your diagnostic display. Before checking or adjusting the pressure settings, you will need to find a properly trained technician to help. When you're able to recruit some help, create hand signals to use while working together. Nonverbal communication will be key to keeping yourself and any bystanders safe while working with the Rapid Rail lift arm. The trained technician will operate the controls from inside the cab, while you will be working on the pressure settings from the street side. Warning: always be sure that both you and your help are aware of any bystanders before attempting to operate the lift arm. For added precaution, quarantine the area from any bystanders. On a standard Rapid Rail, there are 3 pressures on the lift valve that you will need to check. The pressure settings are as follows. The main arm valve relief pressure, 2200 psi. The lift retract port relief valve, 2350 psi. The grabber cross port release relief valve, 1100 psi. On a Durapack Rapid Rail, there are 4 pressures on the lift valve that you will need to check. The pressure settings are as follows. The main arm valve relief pressure set at 2200 psi. Lift extend port relief valve set at 1200 psi. Lift retract port relief valve set at 2350 psi. Grabber cross port release relief valve set at 1100 psi. When checking pressures, connect a 0 to 5000 psi pressure gauge to the gauge port on the inlet of the valve. To check the main relief on the relief valve, you will need to deadhead the lift retract function and hold while monitoring the pressure gauge. Deadheading is when you extend or retract a cylinder to its maximum mechanical limit and continue to maintain pressure for that circuit. To make adjustments to the main relief, you will first need to loosen the jam nut with a 3/4 inch wrench. To make the adjustment, you will need a 5/32 hex wrench. To check the lift retract port relief valve, you will need to raise the main relief 1 full turn clockwise so that it is high enough to allow you to see the 2350 psi. Check all port reliefs by deadheading each function, one by one. Note: to check the grabber cross port release relief valve, you will first need to extend the Rapid Rail lift arm to the out position. To make pressure adjustments to the grabber cross port release relief valve, you will need to loosen the jam nut with a 3/4 inch wrench, then make the adjustments with a 3/16 inch hex wrench. To make pressure adjustments to the lift extend or lift retract relief valves, you will need to loosen the jam nuts with a 3/4 inch wrench, then make the adjustments with a 5/32 hex wrench. After making pressure relief adjustments, you will need to bring the main relief setting back down to 2200 psi. To do this, look at your pressure gauge while deadheading lift retract. Lower the main relief until the gauge reads 2200 psi, and then tighten the jam nut. After making pressure adjustments, make sure that all of the port relief jam nuts are tight. Then clean up the work area by removing the pressure gauge, replacing the dust cover over the gauge port, and wiping down the area. That does it! Now you know the preventative maintenance that you can use on your Heil Rapid Rail automated side loader arm. If you still have any questions, contact Heil Technical Services at 866-310-4345. Remember, we're here to help in any way we can. So be safe out there, and we'll see you next time, here at the Service Shack.